Hello, I'm your host, Natalie Ryan Hebert, and in this episode, I'm talking with Jo, a recent graduate of the Red Tent program, to discuss her remarkable transformation after years of struggling with PMDD. Jo opens up about her journey from chaos, guilt, and self-doubt to a life of ease, presence, and self-kindness. Through the Red Tent program and its combination of rapid transformational therapy, tools, and group support, Jo not only overcame her PMDD symptoms, but also rewired her inner narrative to embrace a life of confidence and connection. If you're tired of feeling stuck, Jo's story will inspire you to take the first step towards lasting relief and self-love. I'm here with my beautiful client, Jo, who's just finished going through the 8 weeks, and we've just done her follow-up, and we're just going to talk about all the changes that she's experienced. So hi, Jo, and thank you for joining me. So to begin with, so there's a lot of women watching this who are probably where you were a couple of months ago. So where were you, if you could explain what it felt like how were you before you began this program, and what made you get to that point where you said, okay, I've got to do something about this?
So I was really struggling. I've been struggling for a long time. I'm 46, so I had been struggling for a long time, and just tried everything. Just tried so many sort of physical things to make myself better, courses, retreats, and really come a long way. Really come a long way. But it's like I wasn't quite with myself. Wasn't quite with myself, and now that I have the menopause approaching, I just wanted to feel like I'd fully healed this stuff before I launch into the next stuff.
I think whatever you don't heal will, because this hormonal shift, it does just put a magnifying glass, and menopause, I think, I hear a lot of women struggle with that too. And it's the same thing. I think I could help women with menopause in exactly the same way.
That's why I came to this, really. And I'd been watching you online for a little while and was obviously slightly skeptical because you see a lot of stuff online. But something just resonated. And I just kept following you and kept watching. And then one day I read that you had one place left. And I just thought, right, this is my time. This is my time. What actually have I got to lose now? And it was, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
When you say you were struggling, what were some of the things that you were going through? What were you dealing with every month? I know we've done your follow-up. I'm going to share. We'll share that as well, because the numbers, just to explain, at the beginning of the Red Tent program, we take sort of markers, scores on all the different symptoms, so that when you finish, you can see how far you've come. So we'll share that a bit later. But what were you, just if you could explain to those who are watching, what were you going through? What were you dealing with every month?
For me, it was a complete lack of control, a complete lack of myself, I think is an easier way to put it. I was myself for 2 weeks. And then in the second 2 weeks, it's like the shell of me was there, but there's chaos inside. And I'm very, very good at looking like I've got everything under control. It's like the swan. Everybody says to me, oh, you look so calm, and I'm drifting along, and underneath I'm paddling like a maniac. And coping on the outside world, but inside just in chaos, actually, in real chaos, and really disconnected from myself, and making really poor decisions, treating other people close to me with I want to say a lack of respect, not a lack of respect, a lack of what I was lacking for myself. You see what I mean? If I wasn't feeling that connectedness and love and compassion and respect for myself, it was so hard to then treat other people with that. And so, I looked on the outside as if I was getting on okay, but I really wasn't. And then there's the sort of after effect after my premenstrual period, and just feeling so terrible about myself, terrible about what I'd done, what I thought. And again, it's not really anything anyone on the outside could see. It's just what was going on in my head. So there was like 2 weeks of chaos, 2 weeks of self kind of flagellation, and then back into the same cycle over and over again.
Exactly. And that's the thing. There's the thing itself, and then there's the dread leading up. Then you have to go through it, and then you have to pick up all the pieces afterwards and feel all the guilt and the shame that follows, and I'm sorry again for everything that I said and did. So it ends up being, even if only it's a couple of days, the lead up and the follow on are just as bad in a way.
And it overtakes your whole life. So you book a holiday and then you look on your period tracker. When's it going to be? Will I have, and
just cancel that? That's going to be a nightmare. I've had clients who just went, well, we can't get married, we can't, because I don't know how I'm going to be. I mean, and we cannot spend all that money and have all those people come and have me ruin the big day. So it just got put off and off and off and off. Holidays, all that sort of thing. You see your anniversary falls right on Hell Week, and you go, oh, this isn't going to be the romantic nice dinner out that you can just see it's probably not going to be.
And then you end up dreading life. So I was dreading life because everything I could connect to when I wouldn't be feeling good. And even if it fell on a time when I would be feeling good, it's like, oh, well, what if my period's late? What if, so there was just this constant dread.
So that's what puts you to the point of, okay, this suffering cannot continue, and no one is going to come and fix it unless I do it. You get to that realization it's going to have to be me, which I got to as well. And I think, and it's that realization, I do have the power within me. I don't quite know how, but but I know it has to come from inside. It can't be from outside. I've tried all of that. It doesn't work. So, and I'm not saying that health and diet and exercise, geez, they're so important. I mean, you've got to make sure that that's all in line as well. But if you've done all of that and you're still struggling like I was, and I'm sure like you, I mean, you're an acupuncturist, you obviously know a lot about the body and health and hormones. I mean, you've got all that knowledge. But if that trauma's stuck, it's a struggle. So then you joined the program, and how would you describe your experience of the Red Tent and working with me?
It's been amazing. Initially, I didn't have quite the light bulb moment that some of the other women in our group had, which made me slightly concerned that it wouldn't work for me initially. But then also I was seeing it working for these other women, and so that kind of really excited me. Also, my periods are not regular anymore because of my age. So I thought a period was coming and then it didn't. So I kind of had the slight frustration around that, not being able to monitor how things have been. But since then, the results have just been incredible, just been so incredible. And I've really enjoyed having so many different tools. So the RTT is one thing, and that's amazing and completely not what I expected. And then having the recording every day to listen to has been really great, and I've stuck with that. And my partner also nudges me upstairs if I don't do it. But then also all the other tools as well. So the tools you've given us to work through each week, I'm pulling on all of those now. The meetings we've had each week have been brilliant, just to hear how everyone else is doing and to be encouraged and see that everybody is getting results. And really everybody is getting results. It's not just one or two, and it may work, may not work. Everybody. Yeah,
everybody sees a pretty huge improvement. Yeah, it's very rare, and I think I know who's ready to work with me now. If you're not ready for it, and you're still, if you've got the secondary gain of staying stuck, but I'm pretty good for screening now of who's really, really ready. So people do get the results pretty much 100% of the time, and it might not be after the first session. It might. That's why there's two, and you might, you might heal all this anger, and then, or you might heal all this depression or this worthlessness, and that's all healed. And then you go, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I had all this rage here towards my sister. So that's sometimes what can happen too, that there are layers to things, and there can sometimes be a lot of anger trapped below depression that people aren't even are aware of. And so the layers that's why there's 2 sessions of RTT in the Red Tent. But the majority of women in the program will find that the first session is the big thing that pulls out the big thorn. And then the second session is just like, what should I do the second one on? Because I feel so good, So, yeah, but you managed to, and I think you just tune in, well, what's still triggering me? Where could I improve? You rise up out of suffering, but there's still things. It's this fine tuning as you continue to grow.
And I think the beauty of the RTT is, I hadn't come across it before, but I knew what my issue was. I know, I didn't know where it had come from. It surprised me where it had come from, but I knew what my core feeling was. But before I discovered you, it just was how to deal with it. I've done counselling for years of counselling. And I'm now thinking about all that money I could have just given you.
Fix it, for goodness sakes. I have this Marissa Peer who trained me has a funny analogy. She talks about, you go in and your appendicitis is about to burst, and you sit there going, oh, this is really sore. Oh, and the doctor sits there and says, oh, is it? Tell me about how much it hurts. A lot, really. Like, I feel like it's going to burst, actually. Like, I feel like I could die. Oh, that sounds painful. Could you just get rid of it for me, please? And I think RTT, it's like surgery without the scalpel, because it's an organic kind of surgery, neuroplasticity working on your brain to find those beliefs that are clearly untrue, that when you see them with your adult mind, you go, oh, no, that was an error of judgment. It's the best I could come up with when I was, 9 years old, or 5 or 4 or whatever. But I know better now. And you can just you can drop it as easily as you drop the belief in Santa Claus, as I always say. So,
but I think you do actually have to go back there, and that's what the hypnosis offers. Is actually, somebody could have told me till they were blue in the face, say this affirmation about loving yourself and it wasn't your fault, blah, 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 blah. But unless you can be that child I was telling my partner this morning, we did a check-in this morning, and I was telling him about the child sat on the green carpet, and it was a green carpet, and to actually be in that place in my mind as a child, it's only really then that you can see how it was just a passing comment from an adult. It was nothing, but no one can tell you that, I don't think, unless you can go right back there, which is what you do for us.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Glenda the Good Witch could say at the beginning, "There's no place like home." And you go, yeah, that sounds kind of true. But she has to go through that journey and get to the end and go, oh, that's so true. I see it now. I know it. And that's what RTT is a bit like, isn't it? You need that understanding, and the only way is to go back and feel just as you felt as that child again. Because you might even remember the scenes and go, yeah, some of the stuff people go back to is so banal.
Yeah.
As with an adult mind, you wouldn't get what it was that created the imprint. So you have to re-experience and see, what was I feeling? What was I thinking? What did I begin to believe? And when you see that, then you can undo it. And then we do all it's 2 hours, isn't it? It's quite an undertaking, the RTT session. Yeah. So what have you noticed since? So you spoke before of all the symptoms you had, and how would you describe yourself now on the other side?
Yeah, this is interesting because, as I said, I did a check-in with my partner this morning. We just sat in bed, and I said, I've got my last session with Natalie. I said, do you think it was worth it? What have you seen? And I was premenstrual this week until yesterday, so it's very recent and raw, and we could really talk through it. So the initial thing is that for both of us, my period came and neither of us were expecting it. It was a complete surprise. So I had none of the usual symptoms, none of the usual turmoil, none. Obviously, I wasn't picking at my partner because he I came to bed wearing my knickers. He said, "Why have you got knickers on?" He had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, usually he's kind of counting down the days. So that was so sort of externally, I looked completely different, and internally, it was just an ease. I just went through everything normally. Nothing triggered me. If something did vaguely trigger me, there was a slight trigger about someone not helping me with the washing up, and I went, "Oh, okay, I'm getting a bit annoyed about this. Is this real? What's going?" And went through all the exercises one of the exercises we've done.
Yeah,
and it's just so easy.
Because you've got that toolbox, and there's a tool for every occasion, isn't there? Is this just a thought I need to just let go of, or is this an emotion that's about to sweep me over, and now do I need to do the other process, the focus process on that?
He can see it in me. He can watch me. I don't know what I look like, but he can watch me kind of latch onto something, step back, do a little process in my head, and then carry on as normal. And so where probably I'm not even aware of it, he can see where something could potentially have gone a bit wrong, and he sees me do a little. You can see the cogs going in my brain, and so I've just given myself space to not be reactive, and it feels like such a kindness. I feel like I'm giving myself kindness all the time. Where before it was something would go wrong, and it's almost like a quick whip of. And then the chaos starts, but it just feels like kindness and softness and gentleness and presence, and actually just being in the moment and not dragging in stuff from the future, stuff from the past, but piling it all on. It's just going through life smoothly with ease.
I think I can even see a change in your face just looking at you. There is, when you talk about softness and kindness, it is kind of radiating out from your face now. You can just see that in yourself. There isn't, you can see on people's faces, like if there's just underlying anxiety, their resting face is sort of it goes immediately to worry, because they're going to a film about the future or something they wish they hadn't have said, but if you're present, this serenity sort of comes over you. I can really see that in you. So I'll just finish on sort of one last question. So say if you could meet your previous self, or a woman in a similar position to you, maybe someone who's watching this who's thinking that's just like me, what advice would you have for her?
Just do it. Don't wait and procrastinate and leave it years and years and years. I was going to say like I have, but I only discovered you quite recently. So but yes, just do it. It feels initially like a big investment, but if you recognize that feels like a big investment because you're not valuing yourself enough.
Yeah.
But actually, what price do you put? It felt like a big investment to me, and yes, I would happily have gone out and spent that money on clothes. So what price actually do you put really on yourself and on feeling so good and so grounded? And it's a gift to yourself, it's a gift to your family, it's a gift to your children, it's a gift to your future. It's just so valuable. And I would just say just do it. I wish I'd done it sooner, but I'm so pleased that I've done it. And I would recommend you to anyone.
It was such a pleasure working with you, and thank you so much for sharing your story with others so openly. And I really admire that, because it took me so long to come out and share my story. I was like, I don't really want anyone to know. But the more you love yourself, the more you think, well, I love me, so what's the worst that can happen? You sort of like, you love yourself so much that other people's thoughts about you don't really matter anymore. They're so secondary to your own. And you can't lose that self-love. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And the irony is, the more vulnerable and open we are, the more people just, love and connect with you. It's like, oh, God, that's like me. And it's more connection. We think if I'm just perfect, then everyone's going to love me. Well, what are they connecting with? This mask that makes them feel like I could never show my real self because she's so perfect. So, the connection that we crave, the belonging that we crave, it all begins with vulnerability. And so I really appreciate you sharing today.
Thank you so much for joining me on Women Who Heal. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love it if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your support helps us reach more women who might need this message of hope and healing. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who could benefit from it, a friend, a sister, or someone in your community. You can follow me on Instagram at Natalie Ryan Hebert and at the Red Tent PMDD. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there.